Welcome back, everyone, to another ASMR video game pickups video. So, I could have done this video a few days ago, but there were games that I had ordered on Amazon that I knew were going to be late, so I waited for them to come in to include them in here, and here we are. So, I've got some cool things to go over with all of you. Some are for current gen systems. These are new releases that have just come out. Others are retro games, as we always have usually some retro games in each pickup video. But before we get into the games, what I do want to show all of you are the video game related pickups that are not games themselves. So let's start with a brand new pop that came out. It's a GameStop exclusive, and here you are. This is number 7, Kingdom Hearts Sora, and you can see him standing with his keyblade on the ground there, sort of like a cane. And he's got his left hand on his hip, as if to say, now what? I've already vanquished all the Heartless, what am I supposed to do now? So, it's a sealed. Interestingly enough, this pop, for some reason, is not yet released on the Funko app, so I'm going to try to scan this barcode here at the bottom. And this barcode hopefully it'll recognize this Funko on the app. But if I was to search for this by itself under the Kingdom Hearts tab, or search Kingdom Hearts, this would not come up, which I don't understand why. So, we have that. Next up, and we have 2 more Funko toys, if you will, or collectibles. Finally able to find these complete in the box, unopened. I have one of them. I was missing the other 2. And I always occasionally will search eBay, and probably once every 3 or so months, to see if anybody has them for sale. And there's been a couple listings for sale, but they've been opened. So I don't want to buy those, or they have the Funko itself just outside of the box. And as you all know and have followed this channel, I only collect complete items. But lo and behold, the same day I searched, I found both of these, and I'm happy to have them now. They complete the set of 3 that Funko came out with, and here's what they are. We have a Wacky Wobbler, this time Sonic the Hedgehog. I have Tails. I already had Tails. This is Sonic, and pretty easy stuff. So you got Sonic, and finally we have Knuckles to complete the set. Interestingly, Knuckles is a lot heavier than Sonic is. Sonic is very light, Knuckles is very heavy. So I found that interesting, but here he is, Knuckles the Echidna, and we now have all 3 Sonic Wacky Wobblers. Okay, let's first get into the current gen video games, and then we can go into the retro video games. So, first up for the PlayStation 5, we have Super Mega Baseball 4 from EA Sports. And I normally wouldn't buy this, but it did have David Ortiz on the cover, and it gives me sort of a flashback to Midway's Slugfest series on the PlayStation 2, Xbox systems. And I loved Slugfest when I was growing up. I was in college when it came out. What am I talking about? But so I figured, you know what? EA made great baseball games. The one thing that EA could never do is make good basketball games, and as we all know, Madden is a poor excuse for a sports game, let alone football. But baseball they always did well with. The Triple Play series was always good. The MVP baseball games were the most fun I've ever had on a console. Even more fun than MLB The Show, and I love MLB The Show, but MVP baseball were great games. Fast-paced, great games. But since 2K has had, I should say, the baseball license, and now it's really just Sony coming out with baseball games every year, I wanted to grab this just to see what it's all about. And then there's a fake guy called Hammer Long Ballo. So, on the back you have Johnny Damon, you have Jason Giambi, Ozzie Smith, Vladimir Guerrero. It says Big Legends, Bigger Baseball. 200 plus legendary players, 6 new ballparks and massive visual upgrades, and Crush Dinger's cross-platform and cross-gen in pennant race and online leagues. That's pretty cool. So, Super Mega Baseball 4. We have that. Okay, next up for the PlayStation 4 and 5, we have Crash Team Rumble. The PS4 version has Deluxe Cross Gen Edition, and the PS5 is the Deluxe Edition. They're the same game, but I believe if you buy the PS4 title, you have a free PS5 upgrade. What I don't understand is why you would even buy it for the PS4 and get the free upgrade when you can just buy the disc for the PS5. Maybe it's because there's a $10 price difference. It's the only thing I can think of. But on the back, I also found this interesting. For some reason, the little bullet points here, they were only on the PS4 version, only able to fit 3, and then they put one right here. Whereas the PS5 version, they were able to fit all 4. I found that odd. Maybe it's a misprinting or something, but anyway, so a whole new spin on Crash. Team up in 4v4 multiplayer madness, 8 plus playable characters with distinct powers, movesets, and abilities. Work together with heroes and villains for a chance at victory. Digital proto pack includes 8 blocky hero skins, unique banner, Get on My Level in-game victory music, blocky hat, backpack, score FX, and pixelated shadow. So, I don't exactly know what kind of game this is. This, to me, kind of reminds me of like a mix of Super Smash Brothers and like a Capture the Flag type of game. If you guys know exactly what kind of game this is, put it in the comments below. But of course, I'm a huge Crash Bandicoot fan, and I have every game ever, so of course I will buy Crash Team Rumble for both systems. Alright, next up for some current generation gaming, we have this for all 3 systems. We have these. PS5, PS4, and the Switch version of Sonic Origins Plus. 16 classic Sonic games and new playable characters, and GameSpot said that the games remain timeless classics. Now, unfortunately, the seal is, as you can see, falling off on the PS5 version. Put the Switch and PS4 versions to the side here, but let's take a look here. So, 16 classic titles, 1 timeless collection. Experience the collected adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog in Sonic Origins Plus, newly remastered and with more content than ever before. This is the definitive way to play these classic games. 4 iconic titles remastered in widescreen HD, new modes, challenges, and areas to explore, and unlockable bonuses in the museum. And there are new playable characters. You can 12 collector Game Gear titles as well, and it includes a reversible cover sheet and a 20-page art book. Now, I have played and beaten all of the Sonic Hedgehog video games with the exception of 2. Now, these were the Genesis versions, but I did not beat Sonic Spinball, and I did not complete Sonic 3D Blast. I played a little bit of Sonic Adventure, the first one on the Dreamcast. I couldn't really get into it. I never played Sonic Adventure 2, and I missed out on the horrific Sonic 06, as they call it. And obviously the last Sonic game came out just recently. Sonic, I forget what it's called, just came out. It's on the tip of my tongue, but haven't opened that yet. I'm so far behind on video games that'll be one of the I get to eventually, but I never played the Game Gear titles. I never played Sonic Drift. I never played Sonic Chaos. So I'm looking forward to playing those. Now I have those complete in box, obviously, and I have a Game Gear to play them on, but I figure it'd be nice to just play them on here, save them to the memory here, save the game's progress. So it'll be interesting to see and to play. Now, Sonic Drift, the first game, never came out in the US. It was a Japan exclusive. Sonic Drift 2 did come out in the US, and for the Game Gear, completely complete. It is one of the rarest games you can find, and one of the most expensive games you can find to purchase. But eventually I will open this up, and I will try to beat every single Sonic game on here. I'm excited. I'm so far behind, like I've said, on, I'm still in the middle of NBA 2K23 story mode. Then I have to play Harry Potter. I haven't played that yet. And I have to do all of this before Mortal Kombat 1 comes out in September, and then before Assassin's Creed Mirage comes out in October. And obviously Tekken 8 could also come out as well this year, and so that's 3 massive games, releases I should say, that will take up a lot of my time. So until I can get to, and then I have to go back and I have to try to beat the first Cobra Kai game, then eventually play the sequel, and then I should be able to tackle Sonic Origins and Sonic, the last Sonic Adventure that came out for the PS5, PS4, and Switch. I forget exactly what the game's called. So anyway, those are the current gen games that I've collected. Now let's get to the retro games. We're going to first start out with this. This is a Tiger R-Zone cartridge for MK3. Now, if you've seen the Game Room Tour video or some of these other pickup videos I've had on the channel, I have the R-Zone system with the game as a bundle, but I was missing this cartridge separately. And I've always had the R-Zone Virtua Fighter 2 cartridge like this. I just haven't been able to find, or at the time haven't been able to find, the bundle that comes with the system and the game. So I now have both the cartridge of Virtua Fighter 2 and the bundle system, and I now finally have the cartridge by itself. So we have the R-Zone gameplay cartridge for MK3. Play the latest version of MK3 with all the newest characters and special moves in the R-Zone. Your MK3 game cartridge features exciting gameplay technology with red LCD segments that puts the action right before your eyes. Plug in a cartridge anytime, anywhere, for the newest dimension in LCD game fun. Now, on this package you have Kano, you have Sub-Zero, you have Shiva, and Jax. And on the game cartridge it shows Sonya, Sub-Zero, and Jax. On the back, it gives you instructions on how to put the cartridge in the machine or take it out. And here it just shows an in-game footage of use your special MK3 moves to finish him. And I really have no idea Who's fighting who here? Does it say? Okay, apparently Shiva and Jax are fighting each other, and Shiva just performed a fatality, it looks like. So, anyway, I don't know if you can see that, but that's the R-Zone cartridge. Next up for the Game Boy, this is for the Game Boy Advance, one of the 3 remaining games that I'm missing from my personal collection. Now I'm down to 2. Was able to finally get a decent copy of Chessmaster from Ubisoft. Most of these that were complete, the boxes were just destroyed, but this was a pretty pristine version, or copy I should say, and I had it in my saved games list, if you will, and I got a notification that they dropped the price pretty considerably, so I grabbed it. So let's look at the back, and of course it's only for the Game Boy Advance. Chessmaster, over 5 million copies sold. The best-selling computer chess game now available on your favorite console. Choose from 18 opponents with a range of levels and strategies. Improve your game with a full tutorial mode. Learn new strategies from over 150 famous recorded games. 10 chess sets for both classic and just for fun. Scalable gameplay for chess players of all skill levels. 2-player mode via the Game Boy Advance Game Link cable. So, gameplay on the Game Boy Advance video game system, and some in-game footage of the game itself. It looks like this part of the box is a little smushed, indented, but other than that is in pretty good shape. So we have that. Next, this game, when I first started collecting 10 years ago, I was a little bit earlier than that, I want to say maybe 12 years ago, I started collecting Game Boy games, the games I had as a kid. Originally, it was just going to be the Game Boy games I had as a kid. And then I went on the spree I went on over time where I collected everything and everything. But back in the day, the 2 hardest games for me to find, eventually, even harder than Sumo Fighter, which is one of the hardest games and most expensive complete in-box Game Boy games to find, there were 2. There were Street Fighter 2 and Wave Race. Now, you could find those easily on eBay complete, but they were the player's choice versions, not the original release versions. And of course, everything cannot be player's choice or greatest hits. It has to be original release only. Some games, for example, like Mortal Kombat or Assassin's Creed, I'll have both versions. I'll have the original release and greatest hits, but for Game Boy, it's only original releases. And for the longest time, I couldn't find those 2. Now, you could find those 2 all day long, but the game I'm about to show you, 10, 12 years ago, you could find all day long, but now you can't. So it's funny, these 3 titles have swapped. Back in the day, this title I'm about to show you guys, you could find all day long. You could not find Wave Race or Street Fighter 2. 12 years later, you can find Street Fighter 2 and Wave Race all day. You cannot find this. Now on eBay, I've seen a couple of copies, but they've been so bad shape that in the amount of money these people were asking for this game was obnoxious, let alone the fact that they were asking it for a game that was beat up in quality, appearance, cosmetically beat up. But I finally found one in very good shape for a decent price, and here it is. WWF Raw, Wrestling's Rudest and Roughest. Obviously, this is published by LJN, of the LJN infamous fame. But this was not a bad game. WWF Raw slams your senses with the most ruthless mat mayhem ever. The hottest WWF superstars, each with their own signature move, wild tag team action, and grueling Survivor Series bouts, stand between you and the championship belt. This is WWF Raw, and Raw is war. Some of the wrestlers, all the wrestlers here, there were 8 to choose from, and 7 of them one of them I'd never heard of before. I never heard of Diesel in my life, never heard of him, but I've heard of the other 7: Bret Hart, Lex Luger, Shawn Michaels, right up here, Razor Ramon, The Undertaker, Yokozuna, one of my favorite of all time because of how massive he was. It was just a spectacle to see him. And Doink the Clown, who I also liked a lot. So, in-game graphics shows all new special moves like this slingshot suplex, super high-flying tag team action, anything goes outside the ring, and go toe-to-toe with the hottest WWF wrestlers. So you have WWF Raw finally complete. And the second to last game is for the PlayStation 1. Now, another kind of ridiculous, wacky story. I'm in Virginia Beach last week for work, and I'm about to fly home, and I get a phone call from a video game store in Massachusetts towards the Boston area. And I had no idea why they were calling me, but I answered the phone and I said hello, and they said, "Is this Andrew?" And I said yes. And they said, "Well, your copy of Skull Monkeys has come in." And here it is. Skull Monkeys for the PS1. Now you may ask, well, why is that so ridiculous? I had reserved a copy of this game 7 years ago. In 2016, I had gone down there, and when they told me they didn't have it, but they could get it for me, and asked if I wanted to put my name down and phone number, I said sure. 7 years later, I forgot all about it. I mean, I forgot I'd even done that. I might have just done that out of, like, compliance, just said sure, whatever, knowing I would get the game anyway at some point. And sure enough, I did get the game, but when I had to sell my entire collection a few years ago, obviously I sold this with it, and I'm now trying to get back the games I had before, and here it is. So I end up doing business with that. I could have gotten this on eBay, there's a million copies, but I end up doing business with Game Underground is the name of the store, and 7 years ago I reserved this game. It finally came in, they finally got a copy, and the funny thing is they called me. Like, you would figure something that old, they would have just forgotten about it, or, you know, the turnover with people working in jobs and not working them anymore, and that kind of a thing. But for them to call me about this 7 years later, I found wacky and hilarious. So, finally have it. Now, for those of you who do not know what this game is, this is one of, I would say the Metal Jesus Rocks uses this term all the time, hidden gem, if you will, on the PlayStation console. This game is made by the same people who created Wallace and Gromit. It's all done in claymation. It's a platformer. And Game Informer said, chock full o' humor, just like Earthworm Jim. Armed with a killer butt and a boatload of bizarre weapons, you're Clayman, the last clay action hero. Run, jump, butt bounce. Repeat until you save your beloved homeworld from the evil villain Clog and his Skull Monkey minions. 90 plus levels of gameplay, multiple secret areas and levels, hilarious weapons including Universe Enema, Farthead, and Hamster Shield. This is one of those games, guys, you have to experience. I would recommend, if you do have a PS1 console, to seek. This is an expensive title. It's around $100, $100 to $140. But if you don't have access to a Raspberry Pi, I would suggest saving the money up and buying a copy, because if you're a collector like me, you might want to complete. You could just buy a disc for probably $40 to $50. But it's one of the most fun games you'll ever play on the PlayStation 1. Controls are tight. It is a pretty funny game, and not only that, the music is wacky. The bosses are wacky. Like, I recall one of the first bosses you'll encounter is clay-like feet and a giant, giant human head. Human face, human head, everything about it. It's almost like it was digitized into the game and then blown up to a wacky proportion. So check out Skull Monkeys, guys. I guarantee you'll have a boatload of fun with it. And that's just coming from me. It's one of my favorite games of all time for the PlayStation 1 console. Now, last but certainly not least, years and years ago, we're talking 13, 14 years ago, during the 6th gen, I think Xbox 360 and PS3 were considered the 6th generation of consoles. I had a game, Guitar Hero 2, for the Xbox 360. I think all of us had that game. And how I got the game was a ridiculous kind of a story. I had a buddy who had a friend who needed a place to live, and so he moved into one of my bedrooms, and I rented out a room to him. And there was a bank down the street from my work that I, every week, would take a portion of my paycheck and put it in the bank to just put money aside and forget about it, sort of a thing. So one day, I go down there one Friday, and I go down there to cash my check and just deposit 10% of it into this bank account. And there was a girl behind the desk who I went to college with in that area. And so we hadn't seen each other for a while, and she asked me how I was and everything else, and I said, great. So when she looked at my account, she said, there's a problem. And I said, well, what's the problem? She goes, you're negative $1,400 in this account. And I said, well, that's impossible. I haven't spent any money from this account. She goes, it looks like you have. And so she reads me off some of the charges. Well, one of the charges was this, at Target. She didn't know it was this specifically. She just said, you supposedly spent X amount of dollars at Target. I found out later, Guitar Hero 2 was one of the purchases that somebody made at Target. Well, I immediately put in an investigation into it, and she helped me fill out all the paperwork I needed to do. Long and short of it is, the police got involved, and they went to Target and realized that it was not me who made the purchases, but it was somebody else. They got the name of the person, and it turns out the name of the person was the buddy whose friend needed a place to live. So when I confronted him about it, he apologized and said he was sorry and that he knew he stole from me and he would eventually pay me back. And even funnier about this is when he brought Guitar Hero 2 home, he goes, hey Andy, do you want to play? I just bought this, we can play together and all this stuff. And I said, yeah. I was excited. I said, sure, I'll play, see what it's all about, Guitar Hero. Seen other people play it, but hadn't played it at that point. And he ended up buying the game with my money, and I didn't realize it at the time. So, I tell you this story to tell you this story. Obviously, side note, when the police asked me if I wanted to press charges, I said absolutely, and he ended up getting jail time. His friend, my also friend, but they knew each other longer, moved out because he was mad that I ended up pressing charges against the other guy. But whatever. Well, that's another story for another day. But anyway, so why do I bring up all of this? Well, this game, Guitar Hero 2 for the Xbox 360, I don't know if this camera will get it, but you can see it for the most part, how big this title is, right? Comes with the guitar and everything else. Well, you can find this game on eBay all day long, and you can even find it with this outer box. It's almost impossible to find this game with the box that covers where the guitar is and the game is. Like, you'll find a version of this game with the outer box and the bottom of this box, but not the top. This white box right here. And so I have waited and waited and waited. until I could find a copy that came with that top cover of that white box. And I finally found one. The drawback to the version I bought, and I jumped on it because it was the first one I had seen in 2 years, 3 years, so I jumped on it because I didn't want to wait and wait another 2 or 3 years. But the drawback was the outer box is ripped in certain areas, and the entire item smells like it came out of a smoker's lounge. It reeks of cigarette smoke. Other than that, everything's there, in great condition inside. Just the items smell like cigarette smoke. But I'm happy to finally have this off the Xbox 360 list that I had, because it came with the top part of the white box that housed the guitar in the game. And that, my friends, is the pickup video for this edition. I have some other games from Limited Run that still have not been shipped to me, and for those of you who have ordered from Limited Run, you know the pain I'm feeling. You may order a game and it comes to you a year and a half later, and that's no exaggeration. So I have a bunch of games I'm still waiting from them. There are other releases throughout that will be coming in. I just found a missing Tiger Electronic game on eBay. Grab that. That should be coming July 1st, this Saturday. So I'll wait to do another pickup video, but that will be in that next video. And that leaves me really only one video game shy for my personal Tiger Electronic game collection. And the game I'm missing is the Streets of Rage game. Now I have the pocket version, but I do not have the original white clamshell version, if you will. And I only found one of those in the last 3 years, and it was in Greece, and the guy would not ship to the United States. No matter what I begged him, I'd pay anything, he just refused to do it. Don't know why, makes no sense, but whatever. So, thanks for watching, guys. Any feedback you can give me would be great, even if it's negative. I'll take it all in stride. I appreciate all of you. More videos will be coming. What I have to do for work is occasionally, and recently more often than not, I have to go away and go to Virginia Beach to help that sales center out there. In a few months we're potentially going to be opening South Padre Island, Texas, so I'll be out there for a couple months. But I'll try to get as many ASMR videos as I can on the channel. I appreciate all of you who have waited and waited for me to upload something, and you're still with me. I appreciate that more than you know. I just want to give back to this community that has given me great sleep over the years, and if these videos help any of you, thank you. I'm doing my job. If they're not helping you, just tell me why and what I can do better and what I could be doing instead, and I'll gladly take that feedback and try to do better videos as best I can. I'm not an editing wizard, but I know a few things. I know somebody requested a Darren Sean book roleplay collection video. I have not forgotten you. I know you've asked me to do that months and months ago. I will try to get that out later this week into early next week. So that's still on the horizon. But again, and I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I do appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time in the next